So if you're a farmer with archaeological sites on your land under arable cultivation, we think this short video will be of interest to you. So to know whether you've got archaeological sites on your land, if you've got a historic environment FIR as part of a countryside stewardship application, or you've got knowledge that you've got a scheduled monument on your land as notified by Historic England, then you'll have archaeology. If that land is under arable cultivation, then we're here to talk about how to understand the risks of cultivation to that archaeology and to help you understand what funding you might be able to access to conserve that archaeology for future generations. Risk assessment that we're doing here is called COSMIC, which may sound a bit weird, but it's called Conservation of Scheduled Monuments in Cultivation. And it's a risk assessment methodology that's been developed with DEFRA funding, with archaeologists and farm advisors over the years to really hone in on understanding risk. Now, for a farmer, if you're interested in understanding that risk, that's a simple answering questions on a questionnaire around your cultivation, your harvesting techniques, your cropping regime, your rotations, what sort of things you might be doing for soil health, and all those things that might impact on how your cultivations are affecting the archaeology beneath the soil. For archaeologists, it's about developing a better understanding of the archaeology, but most importantly, trying to work out where the interface is between your cultivations and the archaeology to determine the level of risk, which of course can change with different cropping regimes, with different cultivation regimes over time, depending on soil conditions, ground conditions, harvesting conditions. So that helps archaeologists work out what advice to give you as to how to protect that archaeology. The fieldwork element of COSMIC Plus, it's important that we time that in with field operations so that there's as minimal impact as possible. In reality, we're talking about a number of hand-dug test pits, which might be similar to what you're doing with your agronomist, but the addition of 1 or 2 small archaeological fieldwork trenches that are excavated with a 1.4 metre ditching bucket, 10 metres long, excavated and backfilled the day after, means that there might be a little bit of tracking across the land. So the impact is very, very minimal. The site that we're looking at here is a 37 hectare site. We've got 2 10 metre test trenches and about 15 test pits, all dug by hand and sensitively backfilled. So the impact should be very minimal. What we really want is for these sites to be protected for future generations. And that doesn't involve lots of research. This is not about archaeological digs to research the site and to gain more archaeological material.
Okay, yeah, we've put a trench here. It's about 10-12 metres long, and it's designed to cut across the line of a prehistoric monument that runs down the length of this field. So the monument was defined by a ditch, so they've dug a ditch, possibly with a little bank inside it, somewhere around about 3,500 BC. So it's early Neolithic in archaeological terms. And what we're doing with this trench is we've cut across the line of the ditch so we can see the ditch where it cuts into the sands and gravels that are the natural deposits around here. And we'll be looking in the sides of the trench to examine how the cultivation soils that overlie that archaeology relate to the archaeology. So we're looking at the depth that it's been ploughed to recently, that it's been ploughed to historically, and whether there's a gap, what we call a buffer, between the archaeological deposits and where the plough's reaching now. The trenching is required to supplement the evidence that we get from our test pit work. The test pits that we excavate, we target away from where known archaeology is, across the field in a grid. They're designed to just test the cultivation soils above natural. But we find that it's important also just to examine the relationship between the two at the point where there are archaeological deposits, because sometimes, because of the softer fills of the deposit, we see that cultivation depths pull slightly deeper, machinery can be sinking into it, it can be dipping and rising as it goes across it, particularly if it's done in wet conditions. So it's quite important on top of the test pits to actually test where you've got some of the archaeology. But we don't want to go excavating lots and lots of trenches because it's not very cost effective, and also when you're on a site such as this, a Scheduled Ancient Monument, you don't want to be doing too much intrusive work.